Welcome, Robin and Pauline from Quest Diagnostics. So let's get started and just have a conversation, right? So can you just go into who is Quest Diagnostics first?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. You know, Robin and I really just are so passionate about commercial enablement, and we were just thrilled that you guys asked us to be here and share our story, so thank you. So Quest Diagnostics is a multi-billion-dollar global company, and we're headquartered just, on the other side of New York City in Secaucus, New Jersey. So we've got a great team of people here with us, and Quest Diagnostics is one of the world's leading diagnostic information service providers. We provide thousands of lab services ranging from advanced genetic to genomic testing for cancer and rare diseases to some of those more normal ones you probably hear, like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and other chronic conditions. So we also like to share our mission. We see a lot of numbers up there, but our mission is to help to work together with our providers and health systems to create a healthier life at a time.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. And I love when, I guess, real life and this crazy enablement world we live in intersect, right? Because Quest is a household name. You know, we all know it, we interact with it when we go to the doctor. But there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, right, to get there. And, you do have a sales team. So can you just talk a little bit about your sales team? What is it like to be a seller at Quest Diagnostics?
Yeah, thank you for letting us talk today as well, too. And I can speak from the experience as well, too, because I was a sales rep in the field, so I'm bringing that experience in, right? So as you heard Pauline talk about the genetics, then you have standard testing, and then you have, more advanced. We're selling into like the just your offices to get your lipid test done up into your health systems, right? There's all kinds of different types of selling needs, strategic level, and each one will have like somebody that sells just oncology. So there's different needs based on what they're selling and what we're able to offer. But it's also not just about the testing. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So you think about it when you go to the doctor's offices, all this HIPAA stuff that you're trying to sign and everything's electronic these days. So not only are we, Seismic electronic, but we're also electronic with all of our physicians. So we're passing this information electronically back and forth to each other. So with that, it's very highly compliant, regulated as well too. There's a lot of information that our reps have to use. Not only do they need to know like the clinical side, but they're also needing to know the IT side, right? So it's a lot of information that they're ingesting and trying to learn and be able to discuss that. But we're like national, we have regionals, so there's different lines, vertical lines, so it is a little bit complicated. But that's why we're here to kind of really streamline that for them and bring something to them that's easy to sell.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, even though we have a lot of different industries here, a lot of people can relate to that, right? It's a lot of information. It's a very technical sell. You're selling to different types of providers, different personas. And you have that compliance layer as well, which I think our FS customers can also appreciate. So enter, the Seismic, you call it Q Force, the Seismic Quest Diagnostics partnership. Can you talk about where we started and how that was and why some change was needed there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So where we started, I'm going to go back a few years because this just didn't happen overnight, right? So in 2019, Seismic acquired the sales enablement platform Quest was using at that time. And so with that, we wanted to do a great launch. But then 2020 and COVID happened. So everything was paused. And over time, Seismic, our internal brand called Q Force, is, it just became like a marketing content depot station. There was no activity. It was just a lot of content assets uploaded on our Seismic platform on Q Force. And so we had a lot of work to do, right? So in 2023, Robin and I started working together on a project because I should also note, Robin was the only sales enablement person from 2019 till basically 24. So she was like by herself on an island. So her and I started working together in 2023, and we learned about this cool feature called Salesforce recommended content. Anybody use Salesforce recommended content yet?
Or you might know it as predictive content.
Or predictive content. awesome. Our commercial team loves that tool. So we launched that, and then we got more curious about what the platform could actually do. So, and around that same time, I happened to stumble across Irina's book, Today's Enablement for Tomorrow's Leaders. And I swear, she didn't ask me to plug this. If you know me, like, this is just part of my story and part of my journey. And it really shifted my perspective on what this seismic engine could do for our team. So Robin and I were like both passionate about commercial enablement, about this tool. So we put together a business plan, and we shared it with our different directors because we were on different teams at that time. And they said, you know what, let's take a chance. And we put together a business plan, a strategic direction, and a roadmap, and we got to work.
Yeah, and I think you also said something that I think a lot of folks can relate to is we don't necessarily we're not all just in, the original decision process, and that's not always how seismic and this whole thing lands in our lap, right? I was like that too. Maybe it was part of, you were in another company and then they had part of the tool. There have been some acquisitions in the history, right? But you have this platform and you have this aha moment when you do realize what you have and what is possible with it. But how did you get it to be seen like just not another tool in the stack?
Yes. Yeah. So we had to, if we wanted the energy of Q Force to feel different to our commercial team and to our marketers, we had to reposition just even our logo. Right? This was what's on our Q Force platform. People saw this, they identified this, and they just really had this feeling that it was just a marketing content depot station. And that was a roadblock for us that we had to get over. So we launched Q Force Reimagined in 2025. And this wasn't just a logo refresh, y'all. We had to reposition Q Force as the go-to-market, go-to-enablement platform for our users. So it wasn't just a brand refresh. We had to do this part of the story, but we also had to pull this through to like teams backgrounds, commercial communications, even to our sales meetings, right? We have this behind us. And we got to working with our sellers to understand the tool more, doing like some basics 101 of Q Force training with them. And then we also had to retrain our content owners who live on the marketing side. So we host Q Force Masterclass, which is held once a month to go over some of the new products and new tools that we're rolling out for our team.
Yeah, and this is actually not the first time we've invited you to speak to a group of enablement leaders, right? We did this kind of back and forth at Shift 2025, but I think some of the really positive feedback we got was that you were very descriptive of some tangible things to do. I think we have a lot of these conversations. They're very pie in the sky and aspirational, but what are some of the tangible tools that got your sellers to really believe there's something in it for me?
Yeah. After hearing the previous speakers, I had a lot more information I wanted to share, so I'm like trying to remember one to say and try to grab that in there. But no, I mean, we really had to reimagine it. We knew that, you have to take and get something in there to bait them, right? So we had the client business review already in there, which was a product that took like 3 weeks at least because we have all these different systems, right? And reps couldn't get in there, so we automated that process, and we took that from like a 3-week process, 3-week time frame that was very manual to a 3 to 5 hour process. So we had that, and they've always knew that was in there. But once she and I gained sources as well together, we knew that the capabilities. So we looked at things. Take it simple. Look at the playbooks. We started doing the playbooks. We're like, hey, put all the information in one area. We did digital sales rooms, And on some of these too, you have to maybe step back and relook at the way that you're selling the product to your sellers and also your marketers. But the big thing we did was when we joined forces, we went to our leaders and said, hey, look, we have this business proposal tool that's sitting in this other system. It is outdated. Give us a shot basically and let us bring it into Q Force. And Q Force, I don't know if we said this, but this is like we ran this seismic here at Quest. So, so we took that. He gave us the opportunity. We launched it at our sales kickoff meeting, and we needed to show the return on it. So we're not at the point where they're like really into Salesforce and we can catch that. So I'm like, let's go get some success stories. I ran the utilization, I got the success stories. You know how it is, you're grabbing at teeth to get them to give you the success stories. But they were just flying back in, and I was like, Pauline, are you seeing this, you know? So after that, you know, we continued not only to promote the success stories with like our reps, but we'd also with our marketers, right? So once you get that going, now you got people that are coming in saying, okay, I want this too for my line. You know, I want this too. I see the simplification. So we really took that part to really look at the tools from simple to more complex, just even like the homepage. Sometimes you just got to back up and say, I would get on calls training and they're like, well, just show us how to find it. I'm like, really? Like, you just put client business review up here, you know, but make it easy for them. So I redesigned the homepage, and I'm like, here's the tools they want the most, you know, and they had direct clicks to get right into it instead of them making them search. So yeah, there's a lot of different capabilities with the tools that we learned about and put into action.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out here too, you know, with these capability expansions, since Robin is no longer a one-woman show, we have a great team too. So, and we have a few people here from our commercial technology team. So we have Luke and Carolyn, and then for our enablement and communication side, we have Carlene and Natalia. So really grateful for all the work that they do to help push this engine forward.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's a very good foundation for kind of the first level of proving value, right? You kind of cherry pick those success stories. You know, I think you mentioned, you know, you surveyed your teams as well. You just try to get the sentiment of the teams. You look for those hand raisers, and that was enough for at least the shot, right? That they gave you, right? And as you get more of these proof points, I mean, you're kind of mentioning more people, right? You went from 2 to now we're hanging about like 5 to 7, but there was a point here where you're like, all right, we were given this shot, but what evidence did you start gathering to really earn the right to kind of go up a level to leadership and have that credibility?
Yeah, so this is a great question. So, you know, us being excited about Q Force wasn't enough. We needed data, right? I saw somebody with a great shirt that said, without data, it's just an opinion. so, you know, we needed data to prove that this was not just another platform, that it actually created real value for our sellers and for the business. So at Shift 2024, we heard some speakers talk about the ROI of the products and what they were doing and sharing with their leaders. So in 2025, we partnered with Annabelle and a few of our Seismic team members to build our ROI story. We wanted to look at like the influenced revenue from that content we were building. Is it helping to move the sale in the pipeline? What were some of the win rates on those sales? And, you know, efficiencies, we heard about efficiencies earlier, right? So time savings and adoption of this tool. So we have all this data now, and so we needed to still shift the conversation from here are the tools that we launched to the value that these tools can bring. And so I'm just going to go right here into this credibility slide, if that's okay. This is a show me the money slide that we were able to present to our Chief Operations Officer, Commercial Operations VP, our VP of Finance, and our Chief Marketing Officer. So the data that we have today is actually newer, but it still shows the same trend. So what we want to show on here is we had a hypothesis, right? It's basic. If those people, those account executives, AEs, who are using this platform that we call Q Force, do they indeed sell more, right? So we took a date range. So this one is January 1st, 25 through April 1st of 26. We have 599 account executives in this cohort selection, which I don't know why it's not 600, but it's 599. And then we took that top half of that 599 and compared it to the bottom half of that cohort. All right, so what did it show us? Boom, this was a drop the mic moment when the people who are writing those checks to invest in our team loved, right? So in Salesforce, because we use Salesforce as our CRM and it's plugged into Seismic, we're able to see what those new opportunities are for new business. our sellers who were using Q Force most of the time had 43% more won opportunities, and they had a higher EMV, estimated monthly value, of 40% more than that bottom half. And that estimated monthly value comes to play in Salesforce when our seller is entering the opportunity into their pipeline of what that estimated monthly value of that sale will be. So that's pretty impressive, right? So then we were like, okay, what about upgrades? Well, that's also another opportunity to show the value of this product. So we saw that that top half had 50% more won opportunities and a 22% higher EMV. And upgrades are just as important as new business because we know we have to keep working with our clients.
Yeah, and for everybody here, I mean, that would be the equivalent of an upsell, a cross-sell. You're selling more things. In healthcare, we don't necessarily like to talk that.
That's right.
No, it would be like if you were like getting a basic lipid test, but we knew there was a more advanced test. So we would say, hey, look, this is going to fit your patient population.
Yeah, thanks for adding
Better
that.
outcomes.
Yeah, and I'm going to pause here again just for a minute before I get to the next moment on the slide is, you know, another slide that we showed this leadership, another aha for them, was that we took that data and overlaid it with our President's Club winners, and we were able to see that indeed those President's Club winners were highly active on our platform and helping with their workflow. So when we put headshots and names and titles following this, they know those people, right? So it's no longer just 599 account executives. These are people. So, and to wrap up this slide, you know, this is one quote that we got from one of our surveys. You know, this just shows that our sellers really appreciate the work that we're doing, governance, you know, we heard that today, content cleanup, and making it easier for them to get the information that they need so they can continue to sell and build those relationships.
Yeah, and I heard you were invited somewhere very important at Quest this year. Where did, because of all of this, where did you, where were you invited, Pauline?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a gift, right, of the team and of Robin, and you know, they saw the value. So we won President's Club for this year. So in 1 year, we won President's Club.
Yeah. Marketing gets one President Club winner, and so you think about it, we're up against oncology launching new testing products. We're up against all this other, you know, information and these high stake results. So yeah, it was powerful when I was like, we got it, you know, we've caught their eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's awesome, right? Because I think, you know, you are the orchestration layer that makes so much happen, but proving that you are close to the revenue is a very hard thing to do. And I think when, you know, you got those 4 stats that you were like, we did it and we can socialize this now and we have all these eyes on us, this was great. But I remember the call that we went on, we were like, okay, so what next, right? And the next logical question that, you know, Pauline and Robin, you asked me is like, well, what are they doing that is placing them in that cohort that is making them sell more? And that's when I want to also give a shout out to the rest of my Seismic team that helped me with this. We started to look at these behaviors and what were the patterns here. And I'm not going to go through all of them on this, you know, giant data slide, right? But I mean, finding, searching, and viewing content, they did that 5.8 times more than the bottom cohort. They live sent 5 times more. They looked at these pages with all of this context 4.5 times more often than those who didn't. And this is really powerful stuff that proves you are close to the revenue. And in the video before Ernst with Expedia Group, I think that those are really powerful stories as well. Once you understand these behaviors, their patterns, and I think, I get on a lot of calls as a value consultant. People are like, well, what are the benchmarks? What is everyone else doing? But I think this gave you an opportunity to say, what are we doing and what are our winners doing? Yep. And then there's another thing that happened after that, and your regional leaders, right? It sparked some interest. and they started banging down your door saying, well, what does this look like for my region? So can you talk a little bit about what you plan to do with these, behavior patterns and actually making those actionable for each of your regions?
Yeah, so we're starting to socialize more with our regional strategy leads and those regional VPs, because they see it, they're hearing it from their leadership that this platform we call Q Force is working, right? So what are your sellers doing in that regional field? So we are using this as a guide as, what does good look like? This is it. This is our actual data. This is not us compared to Expedia or somebody. This is what we're doing, what looks good, right? So we're going to be digging into that in 2026 and helping those teams elevate their sales and efficiencies.
Yeah. Awesome. So you did get a lot of eyes on your team, and I was talking to them before, and they, there's a lot now that once you get those eyes on your team, you get the go-ahead. You can even have new hires on your team. So I think we're all wondering, what is next for Q Force in 2026?
Yeah, so over the next 6 to 12 months, we're looking at additional type of streamlining their content creation, bringing more business proposals in, ways to streamline it. We're looking at their presentation builder, so that they can, high value props, they can easily, based on their segment, bring all this information really easily. And then we have the programs that we are also just invested in, so we're going to launch that as well too, learn more about its capabilities. News channels, we started using that this year just to really keep the centralized location for our reps to be able to know there's a one, true source of truth. They can come back in here. And then the field feedback, just continue to catch the feedback as well too.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something that Rob said as well earlier today, is that I think this proves, AI is not the strategy. I think we're all a little AI'd out a bit, but the foundation that, that's something that you'll get to in due time in your strategy when it makes sense, but I think you're building the foundation that can take you anywhere and making sure that the underlying software workflows, people strategy works. And the last thing I want to call it is there was a significant amount of project management that went into this as well. So I'm gonna give everyone the go-ahead if they do want to meet you and talk to you about project management. I think this was integral here. So.
And just to pause there too, it's really important because we're bringing in commercial technology partners, we're bringing finance partners, we're bringing a variety of marketing teams in. And so for us to get the true data and what we were trying to prove, we had to meet regularly, and we had to have, intentional meetings and action items and follow-ups. And so we really did do a lot of project management as like a launch of a product, which was our data share. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding there. So. Last question for you both. If you were going to give somebody a piece of advice for somebody that was trying to execute this cohort analysis, this data gathering, and presenting a value story to leadership, the likes of your CMO, what would you say as a piece of advice?
Yeah, so I would suggest be curious and collaborate. We got curious about what the platform can do, what the data can show, and what the value we can prove of this product. And like I just mentioned with the project management, we had to collaborate. We couldn't do this by ourselves, and we can't build products by ourselves. And there were products that we didn't know about, and so we have to ask questions to our Seismic teams. We get to ask questions to other Seismic clients, which is really cool too. So there's a lot of curiosity and collaboration that I think were some roots to our success.
Yeah, and I'll chime in as well too. The curiosity and collaboration, and I know that everybody's got a different area where you're at as far as your journey with Seismic and getting your sellers in there as well too. And I struggled, I was a one-person show. I knew the capabilities, but I'm over here just keeping up with the updates that are going on. That client business review tool was taking a lot of my time, and I do the training, and I was developing it was a lot. And so when I had a hook right here, I was like, oh my God, thank goodness you're here, And she saw it. And I was like, and I also learned, not only was she interested in where can we put this? I was like, look at the data you're going to get back on this. Look at, and a lot of times you have to remind the marketers that Seismic's not the only thing that your sellers are in, right? We get lost in that. They get lost in the capabilities of what it can do. So I continue to, mention that to them as well too, socialize it. But once you can get someone in there, just don't talk about their one need, but also find out the other benefits they get from it as well too.
Yeah. So find your Pauline.
Yeah.
Find your person.
Exactly.
Find,
Yeah.
Like, we complement each other.
Yeah, I mean, she's like the strategic person. She's moving the roadblocks away. She's getting the funding. I mean, when I first started working with her, I was like, I get a little meme, and I put her head on it. It was a football player, like kicking these people out of the way. So yeah, I was like, we got this. I found my right person. So yeah.
I love that. I think that's a great message to end on. Find your person. It's all still about trust, collaboration, building an internal team. You can see how your team grew from 2 to 7 to involving your leadership, your CMO, and things like that. So yeah, in this world of AI, it's still about creating collaborative systems of people. So I think that's a great message to end on. Thank you, Pauline and Robin.
Thank you.
And everyone, thanks for listening. Give them a round of applause.